Okay, so it's 9:30. We were set to do this show at 9 o'clock, but it's 9:30 on the East Coast, and this is another episode of Shop Talk. This is going to be the Daytona-ish edition of Shop Talk, and
Yeah, it is.
there's lightning back in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, in the middle of winter.
Hey,
Weird.
right on. I'm Chris Callen.
And I'm Ken Conti, and who are you over there in the corner?
Oh, wait, watch this. Watch this.
I'm
She
Heather
is Heather
Callen.
Callen.
Hey,
Hi,
look
guys.
at that.
And now I won't get hate mail from her mother because she's actually been on the show. So,
See?
But my
Look
mother
at that.
kind of liked the mystery behind it. She said she kept thinking of Wilson, with just the eyes over the fence. That was okay with
The,
all right. So,
that's funny.
so much to talk about today. Daytona was off the hook. If anybody came back from Daytona and told you it was a drag, they suck and they were in the wrong part of town because we had a blast in every spot we were in.
Indeed.
It was truly a motorcycle week. So,
Yeah.
we're going to talk
Barring,
about. I'm
barring
sorry.
your back being.
Yeah.
I mean, we cannot. We can't talk. We can't talk about Daytona and
Dude.
not talk about your back.
Here's the funny thing that I kept saying over and over again, right? So Daytona in years past, we've always like gone down like pirates and, partied crazy, drank for the entire week straight, slept on a rock, came back feeling better than ever. And this year, I'm taking better care of myself than ever and blow my back out in Daytona, end up walking around like an old man the whole week. I wanted to die. Because, everybody, first of all, everybody is a chiropractor, apparently. Because everywhere I went, it was just, come here, let me lay down here, hold your leg up here, put your thumb on your nose, and I'm like, please don't crack my back anymore, please.
Whoa.
But some of it helped, some of it was bad. In any event.
Yeah.
it. And I was only bummed out because we couldn't ride motorcycles.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
I know. Being in Daytona, kicking off the season and no motorcycle.
I mean, I felt bad for him. He is my husband, but I was really bummed we couldn't ride.
I would have taken you on a ride there, Heather.
But
Come on, I
Nobody
think
kept
your
me so
daughter.
busy.
speaking of that, you, like, how many different motorcycles did you ride?
Dude. Seven.
7 bikes. And
7 bikes. 6 of which I'll actually review.
obviously,
Oh.
One-
those all come out in the magazine, but man, that's a busy bike
Yes.
week for
Wait
you.
a minute. He said 6 out of 7 he'll review.
Yeah. Well, that
Is
means
the
one,
7th a turd?
one sucks so bad.
Yeah. We're going to give him a second chance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So maybe we can
yeah,
figure
yeah.
this out via process of elimination.
No. We're not going to go through that. It was fine. It wasn't, and actually it ended up being the bike that I ended up getting instead is way more up our readers' alleys, in
Yeah.
my opinion, than what they had me on.
Right on.
But I was really, I know, this is all going to kind of come out in the magazine. The first one that's going to be in the next issue of the June issue is the Iron 1200, which I want to keep calling the 1200 Iron because it just rolls off the tongue easier. And it made me a believer in Sportsters again.
I love Sportsters, man. The last.
Man, it was fun. It was fun. And
Yeah.
I think it was the mid controls, like just the way that I sat on it. It was just so like comfy and
Somewhere
Little
in
and-
Long
yeah, it
Island,
was-
New York right now, there's a giant scream going out because Mark Velasquez is losing his mind that we're talking anything cool about the Sportster because he was talking to me the other day about it and hating on it. He's like, I don't understand what they did here. They didn't really do anything
he's got a
different.
Scout.
He's got an Indian Scout. Come on.
He said, I saw the shirt he had on. I said, so the sweater, Indian sweater, actually comes with the bike now, or what's the deal? He goes, I just can't wear anything with the Harley logo on it anymore. I'm like,
I hope he's watching. That's fucking ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in a long time.
it's so badass. I
well, we were
I
sitting
love
at the-
though that the 100-year war is rekindled so strongly.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Guys are taking sides on that, man. It's beautiful.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. No, and they are, but they're so different. Like the Scout and the Sportster are like two diametrically. They're not even the same. Yeah, they're so different. Anyway.
And man, like I love the Scout. When I wrote the review about the Scout, I just
Yeah.
raved from start to finish. But the bottom line for people that are really in the custom side of things, Bill Dodge did the first really cool customized Indian Scout, and then pretty much everyone that built one that looked like what he did, because there's only so many things you can do to it. They have honed down the manufacturing process of what went into engineer and design that motorcycle. It's a manufactured motorcycle. The process that's involved in putting that together in the plant, it's designed to be super easy the way it goes together, but because of that, the componentry,
it's industrialized. Yeah.
It's not really. Thank you for the word.
Industrialized.
Right,
yes.
there you go. But it's not. It doesn't lend itself very well to freeform customizing. So,
but the reason why Harley does is not because they're not trying to do the same thing. It's just because it's what they've always done. So they're always going to have tubular frames, right? Until they don't.
I would say that seeing what they did with the Softail, I would imagine that new Softail is going to be a lot more difficult to really customize, other than sheet metal and some basic shit like that. To really do something funky with that, it's going to be a frame off, start from scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Which I would
and
love.
I think Sportsters, obviously that power plant is going to be the next one to get the big facelift, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna happen in the next couple years.
And it kind of needs to. I mean, in that respect, I'll agree with Mark that, the new Sportster 48 iron dark, whatever.
Can I just make note that Mark Velasquez was one of the biggest proponents of moving to 9 o'clock, and he is not watching the program? Just so you know. If anybody knows Mark Velasquez, you should be hitting him up on his cell phone now.
Yeah,
of course, it is 9:30, so he probably hung out for 20 minutes and said,
on it now.
Yeah. See you later, guys.
So if you guys are wondering, we have been jumping the show around a lot. We're actually testing this, constantly seeing what is the best time slot that we should be in. I think we're going to settle on 9 p.m. East Coast every Tuesday. So from here on in, other than any live remotes or anything, starting next week will be 9 o'clock every Tuesday. If something happens, either I or Ken can't be here, we'll have a substitute, or Heather will take over. So
no.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. So real quick before you get too deep, let's see who's watching so far that I can see. Jason Sims is watching, and I talked to Jason in Daytona, I would love to have him on the show. I mean,
for sure.
The Cannonball organizer and Glencoe Campground, and he's just got a bunch of cool stuff going on. So I think he'd be a really cool guest, and I think he's down to do it. So, Jason, be ready.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to have him on. Jason's a good dude.
Oh, we've got Harley Soto from Mexico watching.
Right on.
Mailman offered me a ride anytime. Thank you, Mailman.
It depends on which mailman and how far he's taking you.
Mailman Kevin, and I don't think Cheryl will let him take me very far, so we're good.
Now there'd be a good ride.
Oh, hey, Roy from Roy's Toys.
Oh, right on.
Just tuned
in Denver,
hey, Roy,
just down the road.
Yep. He's a super good dude. Him and his daughter both, man. We got to spend a lot of time with them. Dude, funny story real quick. So his daughter, what city were we in? Takes us to
Chicago.
She tells us it was in DC. Tells us, I know the best place to eat here. I know the best place to eat. So takes us to a place where her and all her friends go, right? We sit down, it's a Mexican restaurant. The whole time, instead of yada da 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 da, it's and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. We finish our dinner and we get up to leave. The entire bar is full of lesbians. So half of it was a lesbian restaurant or a lesbian bar, and and I have no problem with lesbians. I'm just telling you, it was an odd mix of Mexican restaurant on one side and lesbian bar on the other. And then we immediately went to, why does Roy's daughter know the best Mexican restaurant that's also a lesbian bar? And that's where her and all her friends go. So I think
there you go.
So one more Shadow from Thunder Press just tuned in. So
right on.
That's cool. She's not usually around. Hey, Shadow, how you doing?
Hi. Shadow.
She's probably checking.
I saw she's actually. It looks like she's already in Minneapolis, unless she posted some strange picture of her not being there.
That's a super bummer.
It's a super bummer for me. I have so back to my back injury from Daytona. My doctor from Florida, and once I got back to Pennsylvania, had a consultation and decided I will not be traveling for a couple weeks. So Pat Jansen is stepping in for Cycle Source magazine. He's going to be doing live reports from the races and all kind of stuff, but I am going to miss I am going to miss the Donnie Smith show, which is happening this weekend.
Super bummed.
And Sugar Bear is going to be there and everything, man.
Oh, super bummed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in all reality, according to the doctors, you shouldn't actually even be sitting in this chair right now. He's supposed to be laying down at all times.
I'm not good with that.
That would be
a
fun show. That'd be a fun show. Just like,
hey, that's how we did the magazine like 2 months ago, because he had the flu. So
I'm just not. Yeah. I'm not good with that. I'm not good with that lack of activity, and I can't do it.
No working on motorcycles.
And that's the worst part. I have like 2 builds going on right now. I'm dying to get to both of them.
Yeah.
Kicking my ass.
Can't do it. Sorry.
So yeah, all kinds of great stuff from Daytona. We're gonna be talking throughout the next hour. But one of the big stories again this year was the Sons of Speed. It was everything that I had hoped. Obviously they added the 45 class this year. I think it was a huge improvement to the program. They also split up the old bikes into an open entry and a hot. So, some of the bikes that were showing up with the faster stuff. But in any event, the winner from Sons of Speed this year, Matt Walksler from Period Modified, is going to be on with us here in a little bit. We're going to call him up. Super exciting to see him go after that, because Matt, I mean, anybody that knows him has followed him all through, AMCA racing, and, he was part of the Frozen Few, and he's really been repping the vintage racing thing for a long time. So it'd be good to catch up with him.
Agreed. That'll be great. Yeah, I mean, there's so much news from Daytona, but I think once we start into it, it's going to be full bore. We have so much to talk about that I almost think we should probably. The one thing that I will, did you end up taking that screenshot? Do you have that screenshot that I sent you?
Oh, Ripper. I'll bring it up while we're on the phone with Matt so we can talk about it. I will. I'm sorry. I screwed that up.
No, that's okay. I just, I think it's important because I don't understand it.
Huh?
I think it's important to understand. I want to understand things.
I do too. And I'll say this, for our off the air conversation about it, dude. I was crying.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll bring that
ridiculous.
up in a minute.
I don't get it. Anyways, yeah, I feel like. So the one thing that I will say about Daytona is, it seemed like no matter where I went, it wasn't super busy. There was definitely some traffic on Internet and Speedway Boulevard, right? So that's always kind of a disaster going out that way. The Speedway, walking around out there, kind of midday. What? You guys are pointing at me?
No, we're good.
What's going on?
No, go ahead.
So I was out there several times for the Baddest Bagger show, picking up bikes, swapping out bikes, etc. So from kind of earlier in the morning to later in the afternoon, evening, and there seemed to be a lot of people there. I went down to Beach Street. Seems to be that there were a bunch of people there as well. So I don't know. It seemed like people.
The funny thing about it is, you can usually map Daytona out as far as a timeline. People come into town by this day, the crowd builds to here. This is where they're going to be at this time. And this year it was super scattered. The timeline was completely different. It was super busy on Main Street early, by the first weekend. A little bit of cold front came in. It kept the crowds from being out late. There was one night in particular, I think at the Iron Horse, that Confederate Railroad was playing for 50 people, because it was just so cold at night that it was driving the crowds back to their hotels. And so the timeline of it was weird. The idea that there were more old motorcycles, and when I say old motorcycles, I mean Shovelhead, Knucklehead, Panhead. More old motorcycles with the Boogie East show and the Willie show and our show. There was more of that stuff in town since the times of Limp Nicky Lot. Like it was a whole resurgence of that crowd again.
But it was a lot younger. Yeah, I felt like
yeah.
there was a lot younger, you know, and that was one of the things Michael Lichter pointed out on social media today or yesterday or something, was that, you know, he felt like he was seeing more younger riders out and about in Daytona. And, you know, that's one of the things that I also felt. Go ahead if you need to go or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there in the studio, but if you guys need to go.
No. We're trying to bring that picture up you wanted.
The thing that I found to be a little bit disconcerting is that older generation, you know, in their 60s or whatever, was not super prevalent. Yeah. You know, like it just didn't seem like those guys were out. I did see a lot of trikes. I saw a lot of three-wheeled vehicles, you know, whether it was trikes or slingshots or that other Vanderhoven, whatever it's called. I just saw a lot of that happening. So I think there's really kind of a schism, you know, between that kind of older generation and then, you know, a little bit younger like us, you know.
And I actually think, too, we're starting to see, you know, we've been talking about this since Generation X and Y, when we were calling ourselves the next generation. And now with the whole induction of millennials, I think we're actually starting to see the generational shift, man. Like, you know, when you think about Ross Myers has been a city on its own. You know, Destination
for sure.
has been just that. And you really saw the traffic lighten up there this year. I mean, it had its peaks and stuff too, but like as a whole, there were less events at Ross Myers. There were absolutely less people. I mean, when we talked to the vendors and stuff that are working at property full time, it was definitely down there. And again, you know, there were other places where it was up, but it's easy to fill up Annie Oakley's. You know what I mean? It's easy to fill up the Broken Spoke for a day or Willie's for the day. And I think that's, you know, with that younger crowd, things are a little bit lighter. There's not as much money going around, so you're going to start seeing some stuff from Daytona change. Daytona, like, you know, as the institution that it's been for decades now, we're going to see a lot of change.
Oh yeah, I believe that as well. You know, I think that the one thing that I think is always great about Daytona is there's a lot of riding going on. You know, people have been cooped up all winter. And I really, like, that's what I saw with the people that I knew down there, was everybody was riding. Everybody was riding a ton. You know, it didn't particularly matter that it was cold. You know, I mean, there was one morning I went to St. Augustine. I woke up early, rode back, and there was frost on my seat. Yeah. So it was a legit frost that night. And I actually ended up, you know, basically putting it on cruise control and having my hands on the heads the whole time with my gloves on because my fingers were so cold, right. Which is ridiculous. It's Florida. It shouldn't be that cold, right? But, yeah, I don't know. It was overall, you know, all that riding, because I don't know how much actual riding I did, but I would say I probably rode 300 miles, maybe 4. So,
yeah, so while we're sitting here talking about Daytona for a minute,
sure,
I wanted to bring up some pictures for all the viewers of some of the different events that we're talking about.
Oh, cool.
At the Broken Spoke for our bike show, and again, I said this on the microphone, but man, from the bottom of my heart, and I know Heather and everybody from the magazine staff the same way, it is nothing short than completely humbling for us to do this event in Daytona, and we were going to skip it this year. And people started emailing saying, "Hey, when's the show? When's the show?" And we're like, "Yeah, we don't know if we're doing it." And they were super bummed. So to hold this show every year and like have so many great bikes and like people really have this on their calendar for Daytona, it's completely humbling for us. Thanks to everybody.
You say that like it's surprising.
It is for me, man. I still, you know, this is still the little magazine that I started in the back of my shop.
It's not. It's not, Chris. We're on the internets right now.
Right, we're
talking to like 5 people.
Willie's, dude. This is some shots from Willie's. This was the largest crowd of Willie's Chopper Time that there ever was in the history of the show. And man, like all day long, you had to fight to get through the crowd. You had to fight to get in there. But just incredible motorcycles. I think we were at 150 motorcycles, which that's not the record. I think the record of all-time motorcycles is 180, but the people, man, were everywhere. We went across the street to Publix. Even behind the Publix, there was no parking. You know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
So another great.
Yeah,
time.
I remember rolling in there last year with we were on that street rod deal for Harley, and we had to park behind Publix. And I just remember walking over there with the guys from Harley, with some of the designers from Harley, and them just being like blown away with what was going on there, you know, because it was just it was a whole nother world, you know. So.
Yep. And then.
How many bikes did you guys have for your show?
We had 80 bikes.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it was 80 stellar motorcycles. I think we had 6 knuckleheads.
Yeah,
we
6
had knuckles,
knuckles.
pins.
There was no bum.
I mean,
there was no bum in the crowd, man.
Any single one of them probably could have been put in the magazine. I mean, I was so pleased at the turnout. And one thing I want to say from the staff at the Broken Spoke, number one, it's their favorite day of the week, but their biggest compliment was the people that come to our shows, they say are the nicest customers they have all week. And they actually wanted to extend that thanks to our followers and our subscribers. So from them and Chris and I, thank you, but they couldn't be more pleased with the show that gets put on and the people that attend them.
Right on.
Nice.
So, last but not least, I want to throw up some pictures from Boogie East. This was the Annie Oakley show. A bunch of the Texas boys come out and put this thing on. Chemical Camper Scott and them. Just, again, first year last year. They backed it up this year with an even better show, and it's just everything I said about it in last year's report, that it's like old Daytona, laid back. You know, it's just like somebody's backyard party, you know. It was killer. It was killer.
Show.
So
yeah, there were some crazy cool bikes there too, and I'm sure a lot of them had been at Willie's or whatever, and I just couldn't see them. But
man, I gotta tell you,
there were a bunch of bikes there that I just hadn't seen before. Like, oh man, there's some killer stuff there.
And this is an opportunity to talk about the intersection of culture and industry. The industry for years and years now is talking about outreach. Well, here's exact proof of how outreach works. Outreach works through inclusion. You know what I mean? Here's a group of guys that, like, a lot of these guys might not ever have been to Daytona until this show started, and a bunch of their buddies and guys that they like to hang out with are in Daytona, and that makes them part of what we're all doing. You know what I mean? So inclusion is the key, man.
Yeah, agreed.
That's crazy. I guess that.
Yeah.
So real quick, I have to give a shout out to somebody, Kevin Thomas, Kiwi Mike's brother, is watching us from New Zealand.
And
he said he's not working today, so great to see this live. The War Pony build was the best thing I've watched in years. Thanks. And how the bike wouldn't start, how so many of us could relate to that happening in real life. Thank you. Dude,
I can only relate that experience to getting deep pantsed in high school in front of the entire cheerleading staff. Like, that's not that actually happened to me, but
of course not.
I've seen it in movies and it looks horrifying, and that's the only thing I could possibly compare that to.
So that's what a nice treat, Kiwi's brother.
Let's see how the phone call thing works. And if we can actually bring up our guest in one shot this time, because I think we're on a roll here with the amount of times we've made this call, twice at least, right?
Yeah. So how cool was it to go into Willie's and immediately bump into Perowitz and Bandit?
Dude, that was
right.
That was the best.
You and I both walk up, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep. And just sitting on a bench, the two of them together, like, so badass. So badass. Matt, what's up, buddy? You're on the air with Chris and Ken. How's it going?
Hey, Chris. How's it going, man? Everything's good.
Right on. So listen, we're so fired up to talk to you today. Just tell me about that last lap of the last race when you saw the checkered flag come out and you knew you were going to take home the win at Sons of Speed.
Oh man, I mean, it was it's a tough feeling to describe. You getting to run around a track like that all week. We got 3 solid days of running out there. We were out there practicing on Wednesday and Friday, getting our bikes dialed in, and It just got faster and faster, I think, throughout the weekend for everybody. It was so much fun. I can't thank Billy enough for organizing all that stuff, getting everybody hyped about it and putting it on. It's one of my funnest weekends of the year, man, no doubt.
Right on.
I want to know what it was like the first time you went out there.
Well, I went out in October. I missed it last year in the spring in March. I broke my ribs at Mama Tried, so I didn't get to come down and race. So the first time I sat it out in October, I got out, and I race dirt track all the time, so it's a little bit it's a hell of a lot different. So getting on pavement and holding it wide open like that is a whole new element for me. So it was really cool. I mean, some of those guys out there were absolutely flying. eBay Jake rides like a maniac.
Dude, he sure does.
Incredible. Josh is like totally next level
Fearless
stuff. I mean, watching him go around a track is seriously, like, when you look at the photos from 100 years ago and you look at the pro guys doing it, he looks the same in the turn. He's laid over, he's probably rounding the track this time when he got out at 80 miles an hour, 85 in the turns. And,
before we go too far with this, that's one thing that we do want to say here, man, that our hearts and prayers go out to Josh, because for anybody who hasn't seen the many posts of people praying for him, in one of the practice sessions, he did go down pretty hard. I think at this time he's still in a hospital in Daytona, right?
Yeah, they got him kind of fixed up, and he's kind of having a rough go of it, but he's going to be fine, and he's as tough as they come, and I had been messaging him back and forth a little bit, and he's already talking about the next time he gets to get out and go racing. So,
true racer.
Yeah, no doubt. There's nothing that's going to hold him back. That's for sure. And you can count on him being out there next time. So
cool. So, that was one of the things that Chris and I were talking about is, kind of tires, like the two big, the first time I was, probably 10, 15 feet from Rhett when he crashed. And then I wasn't there in October, but this is, do you think that running those clincher tires is a good idea?
Well, it's tough. Everybody wants their machine to be as safe as they can make it. And there's,
sure.
When you're running brakeless 100-year-old bikes that are direct drive, and there's so many potential things that can go wrong, and
sure.
everybody does their best to prep their machines. We've been running those tires on the dirt for a long time, and it's easy to have trust in something that's worked for you for a long time. But I think the faster guys go. To be really honest, like some of these motors that are out there, you could have a pair of freaking Valentino Rossi 17-inch road race setups and use every bit of it. It's such a fun track. It's with a good pair of race tires. It's so sticky, and like guys like Josh, and I can't wait to see more guys out there doing it that are running around that thing wide open in the top lane, just laid over. I think my fastest lap might have been 25 seconds, and that's like it's like averaging a little above 70 or something, and he was going faster than that. And Jake's machine wasn't perfectly dialed this time, but he'd have been right up there the same. And Brittany was kicking ass also. That was really cool to see her get out and do so well.
That high-speed wobble was terrifying.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. I haven't even seen any pictures, but everybody's told me about it, and that's a scary feeling.
Dude, I thought for sure she was taking that wall. I thought
she was right up against the wall.
She's a really good rider, and
she is.
When in doubt, throttle out.
So some of the just for some of the people that are listening to the show today and they don't understand what we're talking about with clincher tires versus traditional modern tires, can you talk a little bit about what the difference is with the clincher?
Early on, the bead of the rim was just a much more primitive style, and for for lack of any better way of explaining it, the tire itself has a little fold on it around the inner diameter, and it just clinches against a sharp point on the rim. And, original tires are, it's pretty substantial pieces of rubber. They're, 4-ply. They got, it's just a really strong piece. The reproduction stuff that's out there does the job most of the time, but anything can happen. And those the faster guys go, the more rubber they're going to need, and a good drop center setup is, when you're flying, it's just nice to not have to worry about that. And they came out with the drop center stuff in the 30s, so it's all close enough to the era. And I was thinking about putting a pair of 19s on, like those WRs are running. It's not really board track looking, but man, it'd be nice to have the extra traction, because you can really fly around that track.
Well, and weren't some of the racers, didn't they actually upgrade to modern tires?
I was running drop centers, and then I know Jake and those guys updated last year. I think Shelly did. So and there's the most of the folks that are really, really going fast have kind of made that upgrade, and then there's the guys that are kind of keeping it a little bit more traditionalist. Rick Petco, Billy, Tom Kiefer, all their bikes were kick-ass machines, just beautiful bikes, and looked straight out of the era. And they're running a little bit lower speeds, and it's quite a bit safer at lower speeds. It's just whenever you push the envelope on anything, crazy stuff can happen. And
man, I'll tell you what, like, I'm not sure what Rick's lap times were, but he goes by on that track, and like it's a picture every time you see him pass. Like, that is just Joe cool. You know what I mean? Like that bike and him look so good going down the track. It's incredible.
Sound good, man, and sound good. It's so awesome when guys got their stuff tuned perfectly and they know their machines. And
dude, your bike, like, you were consistently picking up 2 and 3 seconds ahead of the pack every time I was timing your laps. Like, you were increasingly faster every time you came past the start finish.
I've been working on my motor for a really long time. I've been racing this type of dirt track stuff for 8 or 9 years. I've been watching my dad do it since I was a little kid, and it's been one of those things where every time you come back from a race, you take your motor apart and you do one more thing to it. And what I'm running is kind of like a culmination of 8 or 9 years of me just putting more and more time into it. And there's so many factors. Motor's one thing, gearing is huge. And I kind of lucked out in October showing up with gearing that was really nice for my RPM range on the track, and then just getting comfortable. And it was really cool getting out this second time and running, and I had a little bit of time on Wednesday to get reacquainted. And anytime you go out with somebody fast, you get acquainted real quick. So me and Doug Young made some laps, and Doug won the 45 class, and running around there trying to stay up with him was a ton of fun, and it gets you dialed a lot quicker than you think you would have. So
now that's something I want to talk about, because you keep talking about your history in this. You have a serious resume for vintage racing. We were talking a little bit about the stuff with the AMCA circuit, and you were part of the Frozen Few. You're showing up every year consistently at events like Mama Tried. Is this This is something like, this is your whole end, is the vintage, making vintage bikes fast.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm into, man. And I kind of focus on the pre-1930 stuff, but JD's board track stuff, and I do a lot of cut down stuff that we run on the ice and run on the beach, and do dirt track stuff. It is basically a board track motor and a 3-speed chassis. So it's what it's all about for me, man. Just building stuff and kind of seeing how far you can stretch something beyond what it was intended for. And as far as the opportunities to race, it's just a really cool time that we're in right now, that there's so much going on for vintage, in the vintage race scene, East Coast, West Coast, down south, and wherever, it's if you want to race an old bike, there's opportunities to go do it. And but between stuff like Trog and the AMCA stuff, and Billy's thing is super rad now that it's 3 times a year. It's in Sturgis, and then twice in Daytona there. And
I'm looking for them to step the Sturgis one up. I'd like to see. I think especially with the inclusion of the 45s now, Sturgis is going to get a lot more interesting. But I think they need a little more help with the track prep.
Yeah, is that right? I remember running on that track way back when, man. When what was that? Probably in 2009 or 10 or something, and it was fun. But God, I could end up getting hurt out there real quick.
That was back in the days of Limp Nicky Lot too, Ken. We did a thing out there. Jay Allen let us do anything. Oh,
I remember. I remember.
We made a thing out there called Good Old Days Raceway, and it was just like you'd go out on the track, it'd be dirt bikes with mini bikes with 6-foot long front end choppers and total chaos.
Like 10 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, whenever. It was fully lit, and it was way fun.
And then we convinced them to let us to cut a hill climb in the back of it, and people really started getting dangerous.
Yeah, man, I didn't get to stick around and see that. I wish I would have.
Right on.
Hey, so Matt, how do you figure out do you have just one engine that you run when you race, or do you have, is there a way that you figure out like, hey, this is the one?
Well, with JD engines, the pocket valve design, you depending on what you're trying to do, that you can make just about any of them fast, and it's the same concepts as any, flathead speed equipment, or, once you get into overhead valve stuff, there's a kind of whole new realm of things going on, but all the basic concepts still apply, to going fast. It's about things, making things lighter, making things slicker, carburation, timing, reciprocating weight, rotating weight, and there's a lot to it, but in the end, it's just an air pump.
Yeah.
It really is. So, and it's cool now because there's a big network of stuff that's available, reproduction, that makes making one of these fast less of a sin, if you get what I'm saying, not taking like totally original, like super rare equipment. Like, you can build a bike that looks a lot like mine with an original pair of engine cases and cam followers and a few other internal components, and there's everything else can be found reproduction if you want to go that route, from hubs, frames, handlebars, gas tanks, cylinders, pistons, all that stuff is out there, so if a guy wants a motor built, if he comes to me with the right few things to start with, we can get it done. So it's but making them fast is definitely what I'm into, but at the same time, the bike's got to be reliable. I do a lot of cannonball stuff with guys and build a lot of road model stuff that never even sees the track. That's just kind of a little bit more, I guess, just a little bit more utility oriented. But when you can kind of cross that performance and finding the line between performance and longevity with the race stuff is
that's
the big magic. Yeah, right, dude. That's like how far do you go before it starts having, you're like, okay, I got to reel this in a little bit, or this is going to get way expensive.
So quick, I want to remind everybody, just break in here for a second. We are out on Facebook Live. This is also sent out as a podcast and everything else. If you are happening to watch at Facebook Live right now, feel free to shoot your questions up, whether you have them for Matt or for Ken and myself, and Heather will get them out here quick as she can. So let's see what you got.
What's your next race there, Matt?
There's some drag racing at the Ole swap meet, and I got my knucklehead together and run it at the beach, so I might just put a new rear tire on it and it's a 8th mile pavement drag strip at the Reading Motorcycle Club, and guys have been running that on Friday night for, I don't know, the last several years with the AMCA guys have been going, but I guess the guys at Reading Motorcycle Club are at it that weekend pretty much all the time. And it's about a mile down from our swap meet. That's at the end of April, like the April 25th, 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere around there, whenever the weekend is. And nice. Then it'll probably be Trog after that. So, actually, Matt Harris is doing a race here in Knoxville on June 2nd, which is about an hour and a half from me. And I can't think of what the race is called right now, but I think we're doing a board track class in that too, and the folks from Flat Out Friday are coming down and putting on the program for the races, so it ought to be a blast.
So let's talk about the the price of admission for something like this. If somebody's looking to put together the board track style bike and get into this, what kind of budget do they need to step aside?
Well, man, it really depends on what you start with. It depends on what you can do yourself. It depends on what sort of originality you want to be versus what sort of performance. There's any range. It's totally not out of the ordinary to maybe stumble on a basket case JD for $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000, and if you can do motor work and you can weld and change your frame up and set it up, you could effectively get into it for the price of what you might think you could do a 45. Yeah. A 45 race bike. If you want something, on the national championship end of fast, like the ARMA race guys do that are doing the road race circuits. I mean, some of those guys, they've got $20,000-$25,000 into building their engine, just the engine. So, as with anything, it really depends on what level you want to play at. And, what's cool is that the majority of the racing out there is just guys that are into it because they're passionate about it, and they put their own hard work into stuff. And it's not the type of, for the most part, this whole bike thing isn't the racing ain't the type of thing you've got to throw an arm and a leg at. If you're passionate about it, you'll find a way to make it happen. So,
man, I gotta tell you, I was worried because it seems like a super high dollar proposition, and I was worried if it was going to be so exclusive, it was going to be something. The greatest thing that goes on today is that so much of this is happening just on the street level for people, and I was worried about that with Sons of Speed. But honestly, man, like especially in the pits, you see so much camaraderie and so much community. That's part of the best of this whole thing.
No doubt, man. Everybody's there helping everybody out. There's nothing better than seeing somebody's hard work kind of come to that culmination and getting out there. And there's no substitute for what you feel after you've prepped your bike and you've got out there and you get on the track and get to make laps, and it's an absolute team effort, before the race, leading up to it, building your bike, and then being at the track is an entirely new element. And it's great because while everybody's out there to really have fun and push their stuff, it's such an inclusive atmosphere. I felt totally welcome from the first time I showed up, and I'm stoked to lend a hand wherever I can.
Right on, man. Well, I'll tell you what, it's cats like you, like this whole generation coming in with the enthusiasm and the participation and stuff. It's cats like you that are driving this, because like I mentioned earlier, whether it's the ice racing or the races that Mama tried or Race of Gentlemen, you're out there, machines ready and tearing it up. So
I appreciate it, Chris, man. Thanks.
No, right on, man. I think we'll catch up with you again after Matt Harris's thing and a couple more things this summer, and try to get you back on and talk a little bit more about where you're going.
Sounds like a plan, dude.
How
Okay.
can people
Right on.
follow him?
Wait 1 second. Heather got something for you.
Yeah.
Oh, just some people want to know how they can follow you. What's your Instagram, Facebook, website?
Instagram's Matt.modified. Facebook, I don't. It's just search me Matt Walksler on Facebook. I should pop up. I don't really know how all that stuff works. I don't know what my address is, but Matt.modified on Instagram, and
Awesome. Do you have a website?
Not really.
Right on, man. Well, listen, congratulations on the win. One of the pictures we put up a little while ago was, your bike from the races with a checkered flag stuck right in the beach, and it was just the bike and the flag in the beach. And I was like, man, that picture right there says 1,000 words, because walking away with that trophy would have been, that's lifetime achievement.
I appreciate it. It was a ton of fun, man, and I'm super stoked. It was just a great experience, and I can't wait to do it again. So,
right on, man. Well, thanks for taking the time with us tonight, and good luck on this year.
All right, Chris. You guys take it easy. Thanks.
Say bye.
Take care.
So real quick, one of the things that I loved about that is that he shares it with his family. His little girl gets involved, and she was at the races, and there's that picture of her, helping him work on the bike. I love that he makes it a family event, and I think that's how it should be. Yeah. We need to create more riders, and the best way to do it is to start them when they're 2 and 3 years old. So. Well, and that's something that really comes from the heritage and history of all of this stuff. It was always about family, you know what I mean? So seeing it go back there's awesome. So real quick, Matt Harris chimed in. He's doing his event at Smoky Mountain Speedway with Smoky Mountain Harley. He didn't give a date though, so Matt, if you can post that up, that'd be great. Maybe we'll have him on here soon. Yeah. Let's see. Robin Cole is on. Ditch is on. Hey, Ditch. Mark Velasquez showed up. Missy is here.
Thanks,
Anthony
sweetie.
Cantarella is tuning in from Daytona. Anthony, we appreciate you chiming in every week. Yes, sir. So Mark V, what do you think of the new time?
Hey, you should post up that Sons of Speed video. Now would be a good time. Now would be an apropos time to put that up. Okay. It doesn't have any. I don't think there's any sound. Isn't supposed to be. No, but people can at least get a sense of what it was. There's a few pictures in there, and then a little bit of video. Yeah, it's rolling now. Okay. I got to tell you while we're watching this, and there's a video of the pack going by. I did a short video that I posted earlier today of the 45s going by, and we were so close to getting the bike ready. Roadside was working on a 45 for us. We got race jerseys and stuff printed, and we just didn't make it in time with so much to do before Daytona. But by Sturgis, we'll definitely have that thing ready. But man, watching the 45s go by, and the leaders were half a lap ahead. There was 2 bikes that were out in the lead, and man, they were just hauling ass. But the feel and the sound of those motors going by, it was a fast race. For sure. So if you get the 45 going, who's gonna ride it? I don't know yet. We already determined it can't be Roadside or I, because we're both too fat. No. Me, I volunteer. Me. Ken, you want to do it? Pick me. You want to ride it? Oh, hell yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we got to start talking about getting you some leathers and stuff. What do you mean? Do I want to ride it? What are you talking about? He's so excited he's stuttering. So Mark Velasquez likes this time slot. Mark does? Well, there you go. As long as we have Mark V's approval, we're in. He's gonna have to rewind to hear all the shit talking we were doing at the beginning. Yeah, if you missed the beginning of the show, you're gonna want to watch the beginning for sure, because we dogged you. Yeah, Ditch says it's almost the perfect time. Almost the perfect. Except time. Summer is soon, and she rides a lot later. Well, Ditch, that's true. I'm sorry, honey. Okay, so Ken, one of the things you got to do during Daytona was the stuff with the Rye helmets, and I got a cool little video. Yeah, it's so strange. Sometimes we get these phone calls and or emails, and it's like, "Hey, you're invited to," and this happened to be a helmet launch. I knew nothing about Arai, like their story. or I just knew that they were really good helmets, and on the upper end of kind of the price range.
We had the opportunity while we were down in Daytona to experience the new Arai Defiant X. We also experienced the classic V, but while we were there, they gave us
myself for sure. But I guess I did that just for YouTube. Anyways, they got us in a room. They said, "Hey, here's our new helmets." They showed us a bunch of crashed helmets. They showed us a bunch of crash videos of guys on motorcycles crashing on a track and they're like, see, and they would like rewind it. It was really uncomfortable to watch. Yeah. Because it's like MotoGP. They're going like 140 miles an hour. They're like, look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different impacts. And he walked away. And I'm like, oh my God, this is awful to watch. But they talked about, kind of the history. It's a family-owned company.
Arai, really?
Yeah, started in Japan, run by the grandson of the founder. They had this great picture, and maybe I can find it somewhere, of the founder of Arai doing like an Indian Larry style, standing on like a board track racer, like Iron Cross, with no helmet. With like a
dude, wait,
like back in the 1900s.
I'm just looking at pictures from the launch, and there's a pile of hot shoes. Tell me you got to wear a hot shoe when you were on that track.
I did indeed, yeah.
No,
yep.
You bastard.
So let me get to it. Jesus, come on, Chris, you're rushing me. So anyway, we got to do that. They gave us helmets. This helmet is specifically for the cruiser market. They made 2 helmets. One's a full face. It's called the Defiant X. As far as I know, other than Simpson, it's really the only full face helmet specifically for the V-twin kind of cruiser enthusiasts. I know Harley makes some, etc., but I mean, this was actually engineered for that. And then they came out with a classic V, which is like a 3/4 helmet. Fast forward, that afternoon, they take us to the short track. So on the side of Daytona, they used to run the flat track there, right? And they had Johnny Lewis come out, and they geared us all up, and they put us out on bikes. And they had a TTR 125. They had a bunch of Husqvarnas, and then they had the new Alta electric bike. It was so fun. And what was so funny is everybody, all the journalists are there. There's people way more qualified to do this than me, right? I did the American Super Camp, but I'm not like a dirt guy. And nobody would get on those bikes. Nobody wanted to be the first one. I was like, oh, pick me. I'm like, I'll go.
Here, watch this.
I do not care, And so, I don't know. I think I probably got maybe 5 or 6 sessions out there. And it was fun. Like, it was a blast. And about 2 sessions into it, the guy who, I think I got his card. The guy who runs the hot shoe thing, Johnny, came up to me and was like, hey, you need you keep switching boots with people. Do you want a pair of boots to wear? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So Gary Kinsler from Light Shoe, that's what he does. He does hot shoes. Comes over, gives me a pair of boots, puts a hot shoe on it, like gets it all set up and everything. And he's like, yeah, go for it, man. So I got to do the rest of my laps with that, and it was pretty real deal. And I was supposed to hook up with him at the flat track race that night. He's got some killer like bus setup where he does all his work. He's kind of blacksmithing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go in there, and I could not find I couldn't find it. I was walking all over the infield, like couldn't find him anywhere. So I'm gonna have to hook up with him in Sturgis because he's got a pretty cool story from what it sounds like. So thanks again for that. But it was a lot of fun. Then we ended up riding up to St. Augustine, and then rode back. So, put on this kind of spread for us, and I'll do a full review of that helmet, etc., in the next issue.
So in follow-up to that, I have to give it to Ditch. She really pays attention and does her homework. She just posted up. So Arai is supposed to withstand greater than other helmets, which are NHSTA rated at about 27 miles per hour. A lot of difference. So I have to just give it to her. She pays attention and does her homework. Right on, Ditch. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in that, there's a whole, I've got a whole presentation that I'll kind of go into when I do that article. So people will kind of have to look for that in the June issue.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I'll
looking
go
forward
into
to seeing the 3/4.
It's a cool helmet. You
Is
know,
it?
it looks like a classic kind of 3/4 helmet, but it's got a bunch of vents on it, and you know,
Nice.
it's set up for headphones, and
Really? Oh, I definitely
yeah,
want to see that for sure.
it's a cool helmet. So
Right on.
Okay, so right now I'm ready to bust in and talk some shit.
No.
all right, let's do it. So one more thing, I want to say one more thing about Arai
Okay,
because
hang
I
on.
think it's important. So everybody's got these visors on the inside, right? The little things that, you know, you push the button and the little tinted thing comes down, right?
Yeah.
Inside. And their designer was like, why would you put glass that can shatter right next to your eyes?
Yeah.
When you should be, they're like, you're taking up all this space in the helmet that could be protecting you. So they put their visor on the outside. So they have this visor that actually flips up like this, and then it flips on the front of the visor. So you actually get protection. I was like, it seemed really odd at first. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But then once you got used to it, I'm like, oh, this totally makes sense. Anyway.
Right on. Well, we super appreciate them bringing you out for that, man. We're gonna have more in
great.
the magazine on it, and you know, that's really the benefit too. To take a second here and talk about, like, you know, a lot of the haters of things like Bike Week, they'll be like, oh, you know, the prices and the this and the that. But what you really get from a well organized event like Daytona or Sturgis is you get access to, just like this, Arai helmets, you know, Bell helmets, the big manufacturers, the big name race teams, everybody's in town. It's all in one spot. And, like, you know, I hope
No, go ahead.
I just hope for generations to come that, you know, people still see the value in organized Bike Week, you know.
Yeah, and you run into people like Dave Perowitz, Bandit, Paul Yaffe. Like, those guys are just hanging out, waiting to talk to you. So, I mean, it's you know, it's pretty unheard of. You know, those are kind of the only events where you get to see guys like that. So, and pick their brain, you know.
Yep.
You can walk into two-wheelers at almost any time and talk to Arlen Fatlin. The guy's been in the motorcycle industry for 40 years plus.
Dude, I know. He was, I forget where we ran into him while we were down there. And, like, he's a trip. He's just an absolute cartoon character, man. I love getting a chance to talk with him.
He's a good dude, man. Yeah, for sure.
So he just mentioned Bandit. I wanted to give a shout out to Bandit. It was his 70th birthday, and unfortunately, Chris and I missed it because he was a little late up. So happy birthday, Bandit. We love you. I'm sorry we missed your birthday dinner, but hopefully you have a whole bunch more to come.
We're gonna. Hey, you know what?
Maybe you should sing to him.
No, I can't. I can't do it.
He's got a beautiful voice.
Halfway through, I'll go into a back spasm and it'll get ugly.
Ooh.
All right, so here we go. Now let's talk shit.
Okay, let's do it.
This was your Ripper magazine.
Oh,
here it is.
So I have never heard of this. I don't know what it is. Right? I've never. I'm sure the intention is great. Right? But the thing that I don't understand, because I'm looking at it right now, is that on the bottom it says, "Old school choppers only." What is on the cover? It's not an old school chopper.
No.
Right? I mean, I don't know. And that's the thing that I don't understand. Like, was it trying to be ironic? The bike's cool. I've got no problem with the bike. I've got no problem with somebody doing a magazine. The thing I don't understand is, when did old school choppers have weird little nylon saddlebags come in FXR frames and have Evo motors?
Hey, maybe it's a cultural thing. It looks like it's,
maybe
from
it is
Japan or China. I mean, I don't know.
Man, Moon Eye's show in Japan is as old school as it gets. So it's, you definitely can't hang that on a culture.
I was trying to throw them a bone. Come on.
No, you know what?
No, and it's not that, and like I said, it's not that I don't appreciate the fact that somebody's putting energy into a magazine. It's not the fact that, but I just feel like you kind of pigeonhole yourself, right? Like, Chris, let's talk about what your magazine was 5 years ago, right? As compared to what it is today. It's grown a lot.
And it's grown a lot, but listen, I got to tell you.
But you stayed true to what you believe as is a grassroots motorcycle magazine. But you've started to include things that normal mainstream magazines include, because that's what readers want.
But you know what?
Right?
We've always done that. Like from the very onset, dude, when it was just newspaper and in my hometown, the reason why we didn't call it Evil Choppers of Death and we called it Cycle Source was because I never wanted to be pigeonholed into one specific type of motorcycle, you know?
Yeah.
I like the fact that in Cycle Source you can see Will Ramsey fabbing a chopper frame in the same issue that you can see Danny from Zippers doing fuel injection tuning. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I like that because that's what's out there. That's what people are doing. You know, one of the things that pisses me off the most is seeing a guy that was known as the king of choppers and wore the upside down Harley bar and, like, you know, choppers till I die and jockey for life and all this bullshit. And then the next phase comes through and now he's the king of performance baggers and talking shit on choppers. And it's like, look, man, you know, all the way back to Mr. Wizard and Tudor the Turtle, just be what you are, you know? Like, if you're just gonna grab on to any fad, like, I learned that shit from the 80s, maybe. Maybe coming up in the 80s was better for me than I knew, because if you grabbed onto every fad that there was in the 80s...
Oh, my God, you'd be a lot of different things.
Okay, reality check, thanks to Mailman. An 80s Evo FXR is 30 years old.
Yeah, it is.
But wait a minute, old school chopper, though.
But wait a minute, think about it. We're not that old. Like, I remember 1980. Yeah. I just don't remember it as 30 years ago.
Oh, Jesus Christ, right? All of a sudden, they're having all these, like, anniversaries of the Breakfast Club, an anniversary of this movie and that movie, and they come out with them, and I'm like, oh, my God. We're old as shit all of a sudden, dude.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Frizzell just thinks they're getting a little ahead of themselves. It will be old someday. So they're planning ahead.
But you know,
so when somebody looks at it in 20 years, when they look at that cover, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, old school choppers. No, an old school chopper is an old school chopper.
An old school chopper is Sugar Bear.
That's it.
Yeah, an old school chopper is an old school chopper.
Yes.
Like, an American Iron Horse freaking Texas chopper is not an old school chopper.
No.
That is Chopper Nouveau.
Yeah. But, and I would say, like, the majority of Jesse James's bikes are not old school choppers, except for that one that he built for that weird three-way build-off thing.
Yeah, that
was an old school chopper.
That
was a legit old school chopper. But he doesn't build old school choppers, and it's okay. Anyway, sorry.
Wow, Ken's foaming at the mouth over here.
I don't know why I'm so fired up.
Mitch is pointing out that Evos are now in the drag old book.
Yeah, son of a bitch. You know what, man? I can remember quite a long time ago, and I'll tell you this story with preface, and I will not say the names of the person or the club or anything, but I was hanging out with, like, one of the OG club guys that I know. Mad respect for this dude, and we're sitting there, and he was stepping up to an Evo. And this is when I was still, like, you know, I think at the time I got a tattoo that said, you can pry my shovel head from my cold dead fingers and shit like that. And he was stepping up to an Evo, and I was like, dude, you're really going to an Evo? And this was right after Twin Cams came out. And he looked at me and he said, you know, Chris, Harley Davidson has a new motor out called the Twin Cam. He says, time to get with the times. And I was just like... Right after that, I built an Evo chopper because I was like, look, if it's okay for him to do this, I can obviously move up a motor family.
That's funny.
So we got some product stuff here to lay on you guys real quick. I'm going to go through some of your unboxing videos. We'll start with the Harley one. This is some Harley.
Sure. Why not?
Is there sound?
There is.
It's just a loop. It's just a loop. It's pretty terrible. So which one are you looking at?
The Harley.
Boots.
The Harley one? Yeah, so they sent Harley. So when you go and do test rides for magazines, at times they like you to be geared up in Harley gear. So they sent me a bunch of gear. They sent me some boots. They sent me flannel. They sent me a leather jacket, some gloves, a helmet. And I got to try it all out in Daytona. I'm going to do a full-on, well, I'll probably do some of it with reviews of each bike. So they won't all be at once, but people will be able to see it. The one thing that I will say, jacket, super comfortable. It's called like the Skull something or other. I will find out what that is. Jacket was super comfortable, and I got a lot of compliments on that flannel. A lot of people were like, "Man, that's a great flannel."
Yeah.
All right, man. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear people like it.
Harley's been for quite a long time now. Like their apparel game has really been stepped up, and I've been a mad fan of Harley's apparel since the beginning of the FXRG stuff. That's always my go-to for real traveling, and you know, but they really over the last few years, man, like their styles and everything just went to another level. Like that helmet, you're unboxing the helmet right now. I want that helmet.
Well, and they were like, what do you think is going to be most appealing to your demographic? And I was like, that's the helmet that's going to appeal to our demographic, like, in my opinion, you know?
Is that the one you were whining about yesterday?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as I saw that video, I was like, oh yeah, I want this.
It's just a Bell Moto 3 with fancy paint.
I dig it.
I dig
it.
I actually like the vest you were rolling around in most of the week. That was cool.
That was a hot leather vest.
Yeah.
Andy was like, hey, have you checked out our new Made in the USA denim and leather vest? And I said, no. And he said, go over to the Speedway and Jen will give you one. I said, all right. So I put it on, and I got a bunch of compliments on that too.
Yeah, I liked that actually. It was pretty cool.
It's a good vest, and I'm not a huge vest guy. I think we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of vests. I should show you the one vest that I got 25 years ago. So you guys laugh really, really hard. Yeah, it's like the old. Yeah, it's a terrible.
Does it have fringe on it?
No fringe. I do have a fringe, like Steven Seagal jacket though, like fringe and beads and stuff.
I will bet you $1 crisp dollar to wear that in Sturgis.
I'd have Betsy Hughes camp over me.
You could wear it.
Jacket,
Actually, you can wear it during the mini bike races at Gettysburg.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Right?
That'll be fun.
Okay, so moving on from that, we also have some product to show from Indian.
We can't just say that till next time. Just say that.
Okay.
Let's talk about Daytona. Daytona is more fun.
Wait a minute. I got some actual news to go through here.
Okay, let's hear the news.
I might be stuck.
Oh no.
I think you're stuck because it's just going.
Oh yeah, I hear that. So some of the other things that I attended while I was in Daytona. Let me know when you're ready to go.
Go ahead.
I'll stop talking.
I got you. Go ahead.
Baddest Bagger, which I know not huge with our audience, but I am amazed at how many bikes show up to that. I mean, It was packed, and there were bikes in there that I was just scratch my head, and there were some other bikes that I was like, that is actually, there was a couple. Yeah, there's a bike that I'll get some pictures to you guys that it was a cool bike. It was a nice, it was a reasonable bagger.
They may not necessarily be our cup of tea, but I got to give it to the owners. They own it. They have their own sense of style, their own music, and that's the life, the mode that they chose to express themselves. So right on. I mean,
well, and listen, the guys over at Maverick Media are the ones that are behind the organization of the Baddest Baggers. They do a really, really nice job with these shows. So if you go to baddestbagger.com, you can get the full event schedule for 2018 shows. The Daytona one's always off the hook, but pretty much everywhere they do one of these, it's sick. So
ton of bikes, ton of bikes.
And I think it's still Tony, so when you see him, you can kiss his bald head for us.
Right.
Aww.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a collaboration between Maverick and Yaffe.
Oh, right.
Bagger Nation. Yep.
Right on.
So.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. I do have a couple news items to go through.
Okay.
Let's see. Grateful Dead, first of all. Have you heard about this?
What?
Grateful Dead. Grateful Dead online auction features Jerry Garcia's Harley Davidson and more.
What?
Jerry Garcia's actual Harley Davidson is being auctioned off.
Somebody's going to pay a lot of money for that.
Right. It's an 83. What was it? FX ST Softail.
Huh.
Yeah, like first year Softail.
Is it painted cool?
No, it's just like a.
It's real basic.
Yeah.
You know.
It was given to him by a fan. That fan must have really liked Jerry Garcia.
But it's the Owsley Stanley Foundation is behind the whole auction. There's all kind of other stuff going on. Posters, Grateful Dead, thousands of backstage passes, blah, blah, blah. So one of us has to start reading shit like this ahead of time.
What? I didn't even know about it.
Jewelry being auctioned off includes 22 karat gold sun and moon pendants, sterling silver 24 karat gold, steal your face pendants. In addition to unique items outside, more standard Grateful Dead memorabilia includes a special Grateful Dead themed golf bag.
Come on.
You think we're getting old?
Oh no, but you missed the jacket part. Go back down.
Go ahead.
Let's see. A black motorcycle jacket. I thought that was the only color they came in. Signed by Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir, Ozzy Osbourne, Billy Idol, Joan Jett, and Slash. That'd be a pretty cool piece of memorabilia to have, not gonna lie.
That's pretty weird. It's just weird, man.
All right, moving on.
What do you do with that? You put it in a little box and put it on your wall?
You put it with the bike. All of it goes into glass.
See, you have to understand, Chris likes things. Like, he's got memorabilia everywhere.
Well, yeah, I've got some too. I've got Jailhouse Rock.
Nice.
Right on.
Wait. Let me get that. Go back. Let me put that up there. That's too good. You got to share.
I think there's a button on it too that makes it light up. I don't know where it is anymore. Oh,
here, give me that.
Which doesn't light up anymore.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute now. I have to step it up a level. I have the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, Ken.
You're such
Yeah, some of my shit's just stupid.
But right above our camera, studio workspace, there is a painting of Ken Conti. Yep. That's kind of creepy, just so you know. Little strange.
That's weird.
Okay, so in other news, let's see. Back to the news page.
Yes.
Valerie Thompson suffered a crash while attempting to set the motorcycle land speed record.
Oh, geez.
When was
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Heather gave me this like last minute.
She walked away with minor injuries to her leg. I think she crashed at 299 miles an hour.
Jesus.
Yeah, she was trying to go 300.
She was trying to go 400, I think. Was the goal she had to reach. But crashing at 299 miles an hour.
No thanks. Where was she?
It says the World Speed Trials at
Lake Gardner Salt Flats in southern Australia.
Whoa.
Is this an actual video? No.
No, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, we don't want to see that.
Wow,
but
400 miles an hour. Was it a real motorcycle or was it like a?
It was a Streamliner.
It was the Streamliner.
It was the Bubs number 7.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a Streamliner.
Yep, she was trying to break the 400 miles an hour mark because she had a previous record of 376 miles per hour.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, thank God she walked away and is okay.
Actually, that previous record was set by the Ack Attack team.
Oh, my bad. I read it wrong.
She was attempting to beat it at 400 and would end up not only being the fastest person on 2 wheels, but the fastest woman.
That's crazy.
Obviously.
Wow. Which we were there when the Ack Attack broke that, remember?
Yep.
We were at Bonneville that year.
That's crazy.
That was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Actually, that's where that painting came from that year.
Yeah.
Remember? And Ack Attack was behind it.
So she's okay. I can't even imagine what that must have been like, though.
She's a tough chick, man. But I mean, obviously her as well. Our thoughts and prayers are with you for a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Eagle Rider, Harley Davidson expand rental programs to more than 100 dealers. I got firsthand information about this as my local Harley dealer that had originally had the rental fleet of their own has added Eagle Rider to their mix, and I was like, wow, is this something that they're doing rogue or actually?
No, it's owned by Eagle Rider's owned by Harley Davidson now.
No, they actually bought it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Because it still says Eagle Rider Chief Executive Chris McIntyre, which Chris is the person that we met. It says, let's see, last year Harley Davidson formed an alliance with Eagle Rider, developed motorcycle rental program. A deal was in the works for more than 2 decades.
Oh, okay.
Eagle Rider Chief Executive Chris McIntyre told Power Sports Finance May of 2017.
So it sounds like it's just an alliance. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, Eagle Rider already had a kick-ass network, that seems like as far as the rental program deal, they got it down, because when you walked into an Eagle Rider thing, man, it was about customer service from the word go. You know what I mean? Like, always had a full rack of helmets, full rack of gear, anything you could possibly need while you were going to take your trip. So I look for this to be something strong for Harley dealers, too.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to go back to Valerie real quick. And it's got to be a testament to the level of her safety gear and whatnot, because Gary Hahn said her parts were strewn over a mile.
Wow.
From her impact. They picked up parts for 1 mile. And the fact that she walked away, I can't even imagine. I mean, so thankful for whatever gear that she has. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And wow, it's going to take a lot to rebuild that motorcycle.
Right?
Yeah, that's like a ground up.
Yeah, better the motorcycle than her, though.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can't even,
No.
Just being there and watching them go, 377 miles an hour when they did that at the Salt Flats.
What's it
it's
sound
astounding.
Because you really can't see it, but I mean, I imagine you can hear it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's weird. It sounds like something going really fast because it is because it goes by you so quickly. Like the sound, carries, and it's quick.
Well, apparently I'm gonna see it for myself this year at Bonneville, which I am super excited to go to Bonneville.
Good. It's going to be awesome.
She's also super excited that I'm riding a bike at Bonneville.
No. Any insurance agents out there, call me, CycleSourceMaine@Comcast.net.
War Pony, baby. War Pony is going to Bonneville.
Little life insurance policy, maybe?
Yes, sir.
So, what else do we got for this week?
Daytona. Ken, you went to the TT races, right?
Oh, yeah. There's always that. Sorry, I'm tired. Are you guys tired? It's like almost 11 o'clock there.
I know.
Yeah, our schedules are kind of flip-flopped than most people.
You know what? I like this time slot. I think this is going to be real good. Okay. So if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, we announced that from now on, I think our time slot is going to be Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week. We're going to be coming out with Shop Talk. So we're going to try to get some consistency going here after a couple months of jumping around and seeing what time was working best. I think this is going to hit a sweet spot for East Coast, West Coast. We got the stamp of approval from Mark Velasquez. So
Chris Moose actually digs it too because it's late enough that he can watch it.
Right on. Who else we got from Facebook?
Let's see. Mailman is still here. Robin Cole. She's I think you're in Illinois, right, Robin? She's watching. Mailman wants to come to Bonneville too.
Everybody's invited.
We've got David Shoup, Joe Smith, Jeff Quilty. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Yeah, I saw you say you're going to come to Daytona next year. You absolutely should, but you should come to BMR too.
Don't come to BMR.
So I went to the TT this year. Got to see. So it was different than last year. Last year was the first TT. They mellowed out the jump.
Really?
So yeah, it was. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it, but with like 30 other guys on giant, not my thing. But yeah, it was it was fun to watch. It was exciting. It was all those things, obviously the crashes. There were some pretty gnarly crashes. Somebody's helmet came off.
Ooh.
How does that even happen? You'd think their head would have to come with it, right?
Maybe they didn't have it fastened properly.
Apparently not. So there was that. Somebody's complete swing arm broke off.
Oh.
Which Jeff Holt actually stole a picture from somebody who has got the perfect picture of the guy landing with his swing arm like off. If you go to his Instagram, you'll see it. I don't remember who the guy is that you have to give credit to, but it's on there. So it was a really fun, Harley did not fare so well. Jared Meese won in the twins class. I actually really like watching the singles because those bikes are so much smaller and so much more nimble, and they seem to be able to just kind of slide a lot more. They seem a lot more fluid, if that makes any sense. But I also sit there and marvel at the fact that they're jumping these FTR 750s that are just giant bikes. So it was a lot of fun. Arai actually had a suite there. So they actually fed us, and then we had a little place to hang out.
Nice.
So I spent, some time there, but I also went down to the pits and hung out and just watched, kind of what these guys were doing. And I could not believe kind of the stones that some of these guys had. There were some gnarly crashes, and there were several times where these guys were like bending their bars back and just getting right back on it and going, or getting in that next heat or whatever it was. So, those guys are.
It's a special breed. It's a special breed. Flat track races.
It is a blast to watch.
Yep.
A blast to watch. So especially that TT,
So speaking of the whole 100-Year War and Daytona and flat track and everything, Heather's actually showing me the picture right now.
Courtesy of Stephen Tripp.
Okay, let me see. Can I get this up here?
No. You know what? I'll grab it and I'll repost it on our Instagram. I'm telling you right now, Jeff and Stephen Tripp, that we're going to repost that.
We're going to steal your stuff. Actually, we're going to repost your stuff. That's new language. That's influencer language for stealing your stuff. But listen, as long as we're on the topic of the 100-Year War, and I bleed black and orange, I'm going to make this public plea. Harley Davidson, please build a purpose-built motorcycle for these races so someone could put foot to ass from Harley to Indian for a little while. Because, man, this is hard.
Yeah. I mean, I think the closest, the highest, the person that finished the highest on a Harley was on an XR.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I think they're on an XR 750, not one of the new ones. So that's tough.
No, sir, not good. So, while we're winding down the end of the show here a little bit, I'm going to remind everybody that we're looking for your input. Send along through personal message, through Facebook comments. Let us know what you want to see more of, who you'd like to see interviewed coming up. We've had some amazing guests on this show, for a show this young, incredible. Some of the guys that we've had on. So we're looking for your input. What do you want to see?
Who do you want to talk to? Also, a reminder, you guys can ask questions while they're doing their interviews. Post your questions on Facebook. I will get them answered for you, but don't be afraid to ask them.
Yeah, that's Heather's whole job is answering questions on social media. That's what she's doing.
So, by the way, Joe Smith is Camel.
Oh, right on. Just like a biker, you know what I mean? You know somebody for years and never know their real name. That's terrible.
That's funny.
All right, so what have we got here?
Anything else?
Oh, this was Ken's Arai deal. Yeah, you had an exceptionally good Daytona. I'm super jealous.
It was good. It was, I was up at 6 a.m. every morning and basically went to bed at midnight every night. So, that was it, and it was good. You know, it was had photo shoots pretty much every morning, lined up for the bikes, and yeah, it was good.
Ken had a killer Daytona. All I got was this stupid MRI. I'll tell you something that was great about Daytona for us, and this is another shout out. But in South Daytona or Holly Hill, I think it's South Daytona.
Giuseppe's?
Yeah, Giuseppe's. Giuseppe's is a Still City pizzeria, all the way down from Pittsburgh to Daytona. Good friends of ours.
Jojo, Big Joe,
the whole family. Like, dude, they took care of us.
Not
so
good friends of mine. I gained 3 pounds in Daytona thanks to them.
But they have outstanding pizza, and they're friends of the program. So when you're in Daytona, go check them out. Tell them we sent you down.
Nice. Yeah, I know they supported Sons of Speed as well.
Yeah, sure. And actually, I saw a post just real quick. The hospital that Josh Owens is at, I guess they fed the entire floor that he is on yesterday. Kidding. They sent in food for the entire floor that he's on. So just downright good people. So if you are down there, say hey.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Ken, I don't know if you saw or not, but your new header proudly displays the Forever Two Wheels moniker.
What is that?
Oh, isn't that sweet?
What do you got going on?
What is Forever Two Wheels?
Yeah, tell people.
Wow, Heather, that was so smooth. So I have a podcast called Forever Two Wheels. And currently it's basically this show repurposed as a podcast. But there are a number of interviews on there. I think we're on episode 78, with people like Ricky Rackman and Keanu Reeves and all sorts of people that you would want to listen to. So, and they're usually like hour-long kind of in-depth interviews. And I plan on doing more of them. I just haven't gotten around to it. So, but people should go check it out. It's a good way to listen to motorcycle news, etc. Put that in your ear holes. So,
you're actually being pretty modest about it. It's a fantastic library of personalities of our time. The stories behind them, in their own voice. It's a great library. So, spend a little bit of time, dig through there. You'll be surprised with some of the interviews he's had.
Yeah, they're fun. And like I said, I want to do more, for sure. There's some great ones that have been on there, but I want to do more. I got really stuck on the fact that I wanted it to be live. And then by doing this with you, I realized, it doesn't have to be live, it's actually okay to do it over the phone. So
I think that's the funniest thing about media today, man, is, it used to be that you created something and then you had to find ways to drive people to whatever that media was that you created. And the difference today is you create something and you have to find all the places where people go to experience their media. There's people that are podcast only people. There's people that are Twitter only people. There's people that are Instagram only. I did a little experiment today even because week after week, I post a little ad saying, "Hey, this is who our interview is on Shop Talk." And today I did it as a picture and I did it as a video. And even on Instagram, people's digestive habits of media, a picture versus a video, the video was outscoring the picture like 6-1, at least 6-1. It was crazy.
I agree.
I have something kind of important again about Josh Owens. Camel posted. They are doing Josh Owens t-shirts to help him cover his medical expenses because he does not have health insurance. So those Josh Owens and Camel is hooking him up with some t-shirts. They'll be available at the end of the week, and we'll make sure we get that posted.
Do we have a website for it?
Camel's going to get that to me, and I will post it on the Cycle Source Instagram page and Facebook page. So everybody, if you want to help a brother out, watch for that link, please. And thank you, Camel, for doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah,
he's
for
a
sure.
good dude.
He is.
Okay.
All right.
Ken's done with us.
Let's do this.
He is. I can tell he's entering the final minutes.
Yeah.
I am entering the final minutes.
All right, man. Well, listen, I hope you guys dug the new time slot. Look for us every Tuesday at
9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Eastern Standard
Time. Until the next time that we can squeeze in 90 minutes, all the bullshit that fits. I'm Ken.
You are, and I'm Chris.
He's Chris. She's still Heather.
I'm still Heather.
And the dog needs to go out. We're out.